In the first three parts of this series, we laid down the foundations to begin analyzing some of the more popular programs that are floating around the internet. If you haven't seen the first three parts of the series, now would be a good time to go ahead and catch up and watch those. The reality is that at any given time, there's going to be more novice powerlifters than anything else. Why? Because it's so rare for someone to stick to anything, let alone a sport like powerlifting where there are so few rewards. I used to frequent a lot of powerlifting boards, and one of the trends that I constantly saw was beginners being told to do programs that either were not appropriate for beginners or that weren't specific to powerlifting at all. So as such, I thought it would be appropriate to start off by analyzing some of the beginner programs that are floating around the internet. So to start off with, we're going to tackle the beast itself, starting strength. I doubt there's many of you out there that aren't familiar with starting strength, but if you're not, I'm going to explain it really quickly. It is a program where you alternate two different workouts. You have an A day and a B day. You lift 3 times a week. On week 1, on Monday, you might do A day, and on Wednesday, you might do B day, and then on Friday, you might do A day. In week 2, you would do B day on Monday, A day on Wednesday, and B day on Friday. The program is incredibly simple. It calls for 3x5 squats, 3x5 bench, alternated with 3x5 press workout to workout, and then the last exercise is deadlift for 1x5, 1 set of 5, alternated with 5 sets of 3 on the power clean. Lifters are instructed to add a fixed amount of weight to the bar every single session. This is called linear progression. So for the squats, you might add 5 pounds per workout, for the deadlift, 10 pounds per workout, and for the bench, press, and power clean, something like 2.5 pounds per workout. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the program, I really want to talk about the context of starting strength. The book itself was never written or never intended to be used primarily by powerlifters. It's a general strength training program, and the techniques and the actual programming itself caters towards achieving general strength improvement goals. Because starting strength was written with the novice in mind, you're not going to find much of anything in the way of a competitive plan. And really that's okay. It's unnecessary for the most part to have a competitive plan for a true novice. Every time a novice lifts, they're not only demonstrating strength, they're building it. The very act of a novice doing a max is going to increase their max. As a novice, if a lifter wanted to compete in a powerlifting meet while doing starting strength, all they would really have to do is skip their Friday workout and do a meet that Saturday. There would be no need for any sort of peaking or anything like that, because every single time that they do a workout, they're stronger than they were before. They're already peaked. Now in terms of periodization, starting strength uses the only periodization plan that is appropriate for novices: complex parallel periodization. Remember, novices don't need distinct phases focusing on technique, strength, and muscle mass. They can develop all these qualities simultaneously. The strength of starting strength is in the simplicity of its programming. Linear progression is pretty fail-proof. You add weight to the bar and you either get your reps or you don't. In starting strength, when you stall, defined as missing your 3x5 work sets for 3 straight workouts, you're supposed to reset the weight 10% and work your way back up. Technically, this is variety in terms of volume and intensity, but it's appropriate once a novice is stalled. And this is really the only variety in programming that is necessary during the novice phase. Now, the very best aspect of starting strength, programmatically speaking, is the insistence on multiple sets of 5. Multiple sets of 5 are going to force the novice to work in the 80 to 85% range, which is going to give them a nice blend of maximal strength, hypertrophy, and technique development, because 5s are not such a high number of reps that fatigue begins to interfere with their technical development. Remember, starting strength was never intended for powerlifters, and because of that, the squat is given great precedent over the deadlift. Now, this doesn't make sense for an aspiring competitive powerlifter because the deadlift makes up about 40% of your total, even more than the squat. Significant recovery resources should be allocated towards improving your deadlift. I personally ran starting strength, and I never found that 1 set of 5 was enough to adequately drive my deadlift. Additionally, there's a clear lack of balance between the lower body and upper body lifts on the starting strength program. Just for example, consider that you're going to do 45 working weight reps of squats each week because you're doing 3 sets of 5. On top of that, you're going to be doing between 5 to 10 deadlift reps and between 15 to 30 power clean reps depending on the week. So you're getting a total of 65 to 80 lower body lifts. However, every week you only do 45 upper body lifts because you're doing your 3 sets of 5 on bench or press. Now, if anything, this is backwards. Most people need more upper body volume versus lower body volume. That could be one explanation for what I perceive to be people's poor results in the bench press from doing starting strength. The biggest failing of starting strength when it's used as a novice powerlifting program is the lack of specificity. There is no reason whatsoever at any point in time for you to have a 1-to-1 bench to overhead press ratio. The bench press contributes to your total and the overhead press does not. In my opinion, the overhead press isn't even a secondary exercise. It's more of like a third or a fourth movement that you would do on a bench day. Additionally, power cleans are emphasized heavily in the starting strength program. Now, power cleans are great for somebody who wants to develop that explosivity that is so necessary for athletics, and it's a great addition to a general strength program. However, for an aspiring powerlifter, it's inappropriate to be doing 3 times as many reps on the power clean as you're doing on the deadlift. We want to build deadlift technique. We want to build deadlift strength. Instead of spending the recovery on doing power cleans, it would be more wise to just do more deadlifting. Now, again, you have to keep in mind, starting strength was never intended to be a powerlifting program. If anything, it's a testament to how well the program was written for general strength that it actually doesn't completely suck when used for the purposes of powerlifting. Moving to the next principle of overload, starting strength has that covered well. Linear progression is used, which is the most appropriate progression scheme for a novice. In terms of fatigue management, again, starting strength has this aspect completely optimized. Remember, the objective here for a novice in terms of fatigue management is just to make sure that they're completely recovered in time for their next workout. Starting strength facilitates this by using a static set and rep scheme and encouraging PRs every single workout. In terms of individual differences, starting strength does address this a tiny bit. Depending on your demographics, you're instructed to take different jumps. So for younger males who are eating a lot of food, you might take 10 pounds on the squat and 20 pounds on the deadlift, rather than, say, a female who may be taking 5 pounds on the squat and 10 pounds on the deadlift. However, for the most part, starting strength ignores the law of individual differences. In an intermediate or advanced program, this would be a huge mistake. However, for the novice, it's probably for the best. Allowing a novice to try and incorporate auto-regulation just invites them to mess up the program. Novices don't have the necessary experience in the gym to know when they're close to failure. They don't have the necessary experience in the gym to know the difference between a good day and a bad day. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that one of the primary adaptations that you get from going through the novice phase is just learning how to work hard. As such, it's still important to remember that starting strength does not really address the law of individual differences. Overall, there are a lot worse ways that you could start a powerlifting career than by using starting strength. The program uses appropriate periodization and planning for the novice, and it also uses correct volume and intensity in terms of encouraging and enforcing a static rep and set scheme with a linear progression that forces the lifter to set a PR every single workout. It also incorporates the use of 5 rep sets, which give the novice a nice blend of strength, size, and technique. And the strengths of the program, especially in terms of its simplicity, tend to mask the deficiencies. But that said, I don't consider the program optimal for beginner powerlifters because of the lack of specificity. There should not be such a great imbalance between your squat and deadlift workload, and you certainly shouldn't be doing so much more lower body volume than upper body volume. Things need to be a bit more balanced. In my opinion, there are better options for a novice powerlifter, and we'll eventually discuss them. But for now, I will say that starting strength will efficiently carry you to the intermediate phase of powerlifting training. It's not really fair to critique starting strength as a powerlifting program because it was never intended to be used as a powerlifting program. However, because so many people recommend it to powerlifting beginners, I just really felt that we had to talk about it as such. So overall, starting strength is a good option for beginners, but it's not optimal. Along our good, better, best, starting strength is somewhere between better and best. If you're somebody who is interested in doing starting strength, having run it myself and being a certified starting strength coach, I can tell you that if you want to get the best results from it, you need to actually buy the book and read it. Buy the book, read the book, okay? To this day, Starting Strength is one of the best powerlifting purchases that I've ever made because the book teaches you to think in terms of biomechanics when you're analyzing the technical movements. It gives you a great foundation to be able to start analyzing powerlifting on another level. In fact, the very foundations of my technique series, if you've seen that, are based on the principles that I learned from the Starting Strength book. Moving forward, we're going to stay right on track with the beginner programs, and next we'll be discussing Medi's 5x5 Strong Lift program. If you guys found this content interesting, informative, or entertaining, please like, share, and send it out into the interwebs for me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out PowerliftingToWin.com for more great powerlifting information. Have a nice day.